Hello and welcome into another Starting 502 podcast. I am your host today, Jake Hook, and I'm joined by Alan Thomas. Alan, how are we doing tonight?
Dude, I'm doing great. It's great to be back on with you. We've had a couple off podcasts recently where we just weren't able to be on together. So this is fun. We have a lot of cool stuff to tackle. So I'm ready, man. How are you?
I'm good. It's a slow part of the off season, and just any little tidbits, whether it's a Tyran Stokes thing or a Kasean Prior video or whatever it is, all the things we're going to talk about today just fuels me and just gets me inches closer to it. Thankfully, we've got Louisville football coming up, NFL. So this time of the year, man, I just notice it's so boring. Like I'll turn on YouTube TV, I'm like, Big Three, sure, I guess, sounds great.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're looking for anything to kind of fill that void, or we talked a little bit before the podcast here just about how the scroll of Twitter and social media can be like a grind, now around this time, and you're looking for anything. Like somebody posts like, hey, I think, like randomly they'll say Cards are going to the Final Four. I'm like, yes, like like let me get into this comment section, something, anything. So I'm right there with you.
It's been slow. I've found myself twice this summer watching what I believe is called Omega Ball. Have you seen it pop up on ESPN yet?
I haven't seen Omega Ball. No, what is this?
It's so dumb. I like soccer, but it's three teams playing soccer in a circle, but then there's three goals, and so they're all playing against the other two teams. It's kind of entertaining, but just very boring, or very weird. But it just goes to show you how down bad we are right now. But before we get started in the show, I'll always forget to mention, if I don't do it now, follow us on Twitter if you are not already. Alan Thomas at card in _AL, and then myself at UofL _updates. And first things first, you talked about it before we started recording, but a dead part of the off season, but we are getting a little bit with these Tyran Stokes updates. So Alan, what have you seen? What have most of Cardinal fans been seeing over the last week when it comes to news on Tyran Stokes?
I think it kind of plays into the slow period of the sports year where we're grasping for straws, but and maybe this isn't grasping for straws. What we've seen lately, we knew he was coming to Louisville to do a big backpack giveaway, I think, and a school drive of some sort in the west end of Louisville, the Shawnee Park at the Dirt Bowl. It was just this past Saturday, just a couple days ago. And we all knew this was happening from even I think weeks away. We saw this coming. And he was a Louisvillian, I think, when he first announced, or maybe right around the time. And then some news came out that Kentucky had taken the reins because of a Nike deal that he signed or whatever. And so everybody, it really shifted kind of overnight, because we had Joe Tipton on this podcast, Jacob and Presley did, and he was kind of talking about how Louisville was in the driver's seat for the whole thing. So fast forward to Saturday, and Tyran Stokes, he's out there, he's signing autographs. I really was, I kind of went through his Instagram and other people's YouTubes and stuff, not really looking for anything like, oh, what can I look for, and just, brainwash myself into thinking that he's going to be a card. But something caught my attention, and it was, I think, kysports.tv. I'm trying to get that right, because I randomly scrolled and found this. Or, I'm sorry, it was sent to me, the him signing a Cardinal shirt. That was when I scrolled. I'm like, what? Okay, that was after the fact. But it basically, in a nutshell, he kind of quoted Pat Kelsey, the ducking smoke thing. And then it kind of sparked a debate with Kentucky fans too, because Mark Pope has said something similar. But, and before, I know you have some actual concrete updates to share, but I just want to take a second and talk about, this is just my angle, and I'll keep it simple. I'll keep it quick. The west end of Louisville is maybe the reddest of the areas of Louisville as far as Cardinal fans, the most saturated neighborhood in the city, in the world, or whatever, of Cardinal fans. And Tyran Stokes' family, having set this up, he didn't do this alone, and his agent too, there's all these things that go into it. They set it up in the west end, this is a place that at the Dirt Bowl, I think on the day of the championship or the day before. It was on the weekend of the Dirt Bowl championship. So none of this is by accident. And so it's either by accident one way or the other. It's either by accident when it's either none of it's by accident. It's either deliberate one way or the other. it's either deliberate. You're doing this to kind of be like, Louisville's always going to be home no matter what, you guys, like,
Hmm.
What I mean? That kind of thing. And that's kind of
Creating a
what
little
part of our brain.
goodwill
Yeah, the
after
goodwill
what might
thing.
come in the future.
Yeah, yeah. So, but like, this is always home, like, and he may be trying to be a Rondo part two. We still love Rondo around here. Like, he may be trying to do that. Like, I'm not blind to that part, and I'm not sitting here trying to pump sunshine into everybody's head. But the other part of me thinks, like, in that moment when he's asked a question about what are the things that, would lead you to a college, and on answer three, he says, he gives it. Steve Rummage touched on this when they talked about it on the Maven and Rummage show, the Marcus Maven show the other day. And he kind of said, he had a good point, Steve did. And he kind of said he thought about this answer for a second, and his eyes kind of wandered. He started to say it twice. And yes, I'm breaking this all the way down. I'm breaking a 17-year-old kid's thought process down. That's what I'm
Hmm.
doing at age
I
41
was going to
at
say
10, 15.
that'll get you put on a list if you're not
Yeah.
careful.
Yeah. No kidding, man. He kind of starts to answer it twice. And on the third time, he just runs right into it. And he's like, I think he was thinking of, my brain tells me that he was thinking of, what can I say to kind of put a hint out there without saying it, like a very general way. And I thought if that's what he's doing, it was brilliant, because when you say duck the smoke, that's been our off season. Kind of last year was revival.
Hmm.
Like this so far this offseason, we don't have anything that's tagline-ish except for Louisville's not ducking the smoke. Like, everybody loves that clip. So that's kind of where my head is with it. And again, I didn't mean to get so personal with it, with the West End and everything, but that's just where, like, if you're gonna do that, it's either like you said, for the goodwill angle, or you left a little nugget out there but you didn't actually say it. But why would you say it in that moment? Probably surrounded by 10, 15 people listening to you say this. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, I thought it was, for whatever reason, very careful about the way he said it. But that's just the way. That's my fandom, and I'm kind of crazy that way. It could go one or the other. It's either one way or the other, or maybe he just has no idea where he's going yet.
Yeah, I think that's most likely the right answer right now, because he's probably got so many different people and things pulling him in different ways. His heart might be saying one thing, but if you're getting $3 million from Nike, it's hard to turn that down when you're 17 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But in that KY Sports video, he also, in the same one where he talked about don't want to duck any smoke, he also said, this is a quote from him: fans, when he was looking what he was looking for in a school, the answer was fans that put it all into their school, not just someone who cares about just having a good basketball team or just having a good football team. I want somewhere I can go and have a good time, actually experience college, go to a nice football game, have a nice baseball team. So to me, right there, I'm
Mm-hmm.
hearing that and I'm thinking, like, yeah, a pretty good football team. Just
Mm-hmm.
went to the College World Series in baseball. I think we fit both of those. I don't know if I know Kentucky doesn't fit the football thing. Their
Yeah.
baseball team is hit or miss. So I thought that quote was interesting as well. If you were a fan of Kentucky and Louisville, and you heard that one team is getting described there, one team is clearly not. So I definitely thought
Yeah.
that was interesting as well.
To your point, like, some UK people on Twitter, like, responding, and I went through a lot of comments, and a lot of them I was like, that makes sense. No, that makes sense too. But then I hear, like, I'm just kind of jumping at everything. I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably right. And then, like, it's the devil and the angel thing, you know what I mean,
Mhm.
on each shoulder. But talking about going and having a good college experience, like, he's from Louisville, and as far as I know, he was here until age like 9 or something like that, and then moved out to California, eventually going to Prolific Prep. I don't know if that was the design for him to do that, is to go out there originally, or if that was why, but I know he moved with family when he was 9. I don't know
Mhm.
the reason. I'm not trying to be that nosy person, but so when he says go away, have a good college experience, like, I do know, like, I lived in Lexington for like 4 months. People don't know this, but, like, I just had a buddy who lived in, he was going to part-time LCC, I think is what it was called back then, Lexington Community College. And I just kind of had nothing going on, so I would drive like an hour, and then eventually I just started crashing, and applied for a job. And I don't know, like, it is a very college, pretty cool college atmosphere, and just a pretty chill area, especially around the campus. So, like, I'm not dumb, and I'm not going to sit here and try to pull the wool over anybody. Like, that would be pretty cool, being that he is from Louisville, to go there. I just found it very, like, it would be such a gut punch to a lot of different people in a lot of different groups that he is now affiliated with, to go to Kentucky, and being away in California so long, maybe the college experience that he's looking for is in Louisville now. I have no idea. You know what I mean? No idea
Yeah.
what to make of that.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I'm not going to hide it. If Tyran Stokes goes to Kentucky, that's going to suck so horribly bad.
Oh yeah.
I still feel like everything that my eyes are seeing and that my heart is thinking is like he's still going to end up at Louisville regardless. But then, I mean, you've got all these big names. You've got Joe Tipton. You've got Jody Dimling. You've got Jamie Shaw, and they're all reporting the same thing. Joe Tipton recently said, with Stokes, I would give Kentucky the slight edge. Jody Dimling in late July said the word is this week is that UK does lead for Stokes. Not sure where it
Mm.
started, and I think they're right there. But as I said before, to say anyone leads would be wrong because no one has a clue. But that has been the word out at Peach Jam. And then Jamie Shaw today, so Wednesday night, August 6th, came out and did a report on like his top 10 his 10 predictions of the class of 2026, and at the top of the
Mm-hmm.
list was obviously Tyran Stokes, and he's basically now saying that he predicted Kentucky to land him. Confidence level only at 35%, so not crazy high confidence there. He had some that were 60s and 70s. Then he put underneath that biggest threat outside of Kentucky is Arkansas or
Okay.
another or the field is what he listed. So didn't even list Louisville as
Okay.
a school there at all. So I'm wondering, to me, that screams Nike money because obviously
Yeah.
two of the biggest schools for Nike, Kentucky and Arkansas. So to me, I feel like that's where all these rumors and this news has came out is basically he signed the deal with Nike, and now everything is flipped for everyone to think that he's going to end up at a Nike school, whether that's Kentucky or Arkansas. And as Wu
Yeah.
Tang said, cash rules everything around me. So and honestly, I would hate if he left or didn't leave, but
Yeah.
didn't choose Louisville. But part of me would understand.
Yeah. And that's actually shocking. Not, I'm not shocked or anything. It's Calipari and it is Nike. But just from talking to different people, like, I mean, I'm talking to different people. Like, this is just like Joe Louisville fan. I'm not talking about anybody like anybody in the know, but like most people that, and I had this conversation a lot because I'm a nutcase, so I talk about this stuff all the time. And like everybody I've talked to is like, yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be Kentucky or Kansas, if it's not Louisville. And I would rather see him go to Kansas. And we're just dismissing Arkansas because we're like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, how long is Cal going to be there, really? I mean, like all these little factors go into it. But like, I mean, I guess their football team, I don't know. Is their football team okay? I think they had some coaching issues. I know Bobby is there. I know their baseball team was really good.
Yeah.
So that could also be a place that I don't know if he's visited there or not, but maybe it's just one of those things like going into Fayetteville or Lawrence or one of these places, and you're just like you just drown in the college atmosphere, and you just love it so much. Like that is a thing. Like that could totally happen. You know what I mean? And this offseason has been dominated a lot by we haven't really talked about Tyran Stokes a lot because a lot of us just kind of assumed, for lack of a better word. But we've more been discussing Taylen Kinney,
Mhm.
and Adidas because we're watching what happened with Michael Brown Jr. and Adidas and Donovan Mitchell and how that kind of just like perfectly played out. Like I don't think you could have asked for a better way for him to commit than at halftime when we were all like, yeah, I don't know, we've been burned before, but Adidas, maybe Donovan's got us, and literally the whole time Adidas and Donovan had us with him.
Mhm.
And so, Louisville fans I think are hopeful that that's kind of what's going on behind the scenes with Taylen Kinney, who's a kid from I think Newport
Yeah.
or one of those northern Kentucky cities. So yeah, fingers crossed there. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, we're switching gears because he's not coming to Louisville. So let's talk about this kid. But Taylen Kinney is definitely one that's and he's underrated in the On3 thing that just came out. He's a lot better than whatever it was, the 26 or 28, whatever.
Well, if that tells you anything, that means that On3 thinks he's going to Louisville because if they thought he
Yeah,
was going to Kentucky or somewhere like that, he'd be a top 10 player. But yeah, that's a good
absolutely.
transition into it. In that Jamie Shaw article that listed UK and Arkansas as the number one and number two players for Stokes, they also at the bottom of the article talked about Taylen Kinney and talked about how throughout the process it's been Kentucky and it's been Louisville going back and forth, the Newport native. But
Mm,
at this point, he said that his prediction is Louisville. Confidence level still only at 40%. And then the biggest threat, he didn't list Kentucky. He listed Indiana, another Adidas school.
okay. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so that tracks to me. One other interesting thing that he wrote about Kinney is that he has been told that Kinney will narrow his list to around 7 schools soon. And then he said, speaking with Kinney, he has maintained that he would like to commit during the early period. So it sounds like we would get a
Whoa.
commitment, or Indiana or somebody would get a commitment before the end of this year.
Okay.
So that's big. It's nice that we're still in the lead. I think it's kind of weird. I'd say 2 months ago, if you told me about Taylen Kinney and you told me about Tyran Stokes, I would have thought the exact opposite. I said Stokes is a lock. Kinney, I'd love to have him. I saw him at the King of the Bluegrass tournament when he was a sophomore or a freshman. I don't know what he was, but when he was still playing for Newport.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
and he was the best player at the tournament as a 15, 16-year-old. And immediately went and followed him on Twitter and was like, would love to have him. And then heard for years, Kentucky, Kentucky, Kentucky. And
Hmm.
now he's signed with Adidas, and it sounds like he's going to Louisville, and Stokes might be going the opposite way. But at least it is not all bad news on the recruiting front. Taylen Kinney does sound like he's still trending towards Louisville.
Yeah, and that's huge because we want to be able to, with not just like the same position of like the formula can't be, star freshman combo or point guard and then a bunch of men. Like that can't just be. I mean, if it works this year, like which I think we're going deep, you know what I mean? That's fine. But like, and if that's maybe I'm stupid. If that's the formula PK chooses, that's fine. But like, I feel like you're gonna have to mix it up unless that's the path you're choosing for the next, if that's what you're going to try for the next 5-6 years, NIL wise, Adidas wise, if you're like, trying to get Donovan, roped into this and like, okay, can we see a path where we can just like keep doing this? Hey, like if that gets us Final Fours, I'm not going to argue with you. I just think it's kind of like, I don't know, man. There's going to be, you're going to have AJ DeBanza out there that, literally went to, I mean, maybe there's other things, but probably went to BYU just strictly because of money, you're going to have to compete with people like this, whether it's a point guard or a dominant, wing power forward, whatever, 18-year-old man, like him. So I think what you just said is going to be, and it washed over when you said it to me. It kind of washed over, and weirdly, this relief because I already knew he was coming, but just hearing that, we're not used to hearing that coming from like articles and stuff like that. Even though it was 40%, so thumbs up. I'll take it. I'll take that one.
Yeah, definitely. And just before we move on, it is kind of crazy. And I don't know, I grew up in Kentucky my whole entire life. Like really
Hmm.
highly ranked high school basketball players don't often come from Kentucky. And it's just so interesting. I know we've got Stokes and we've got Kinney. Who's the kid that is at Trinity? He was higher ranked. He's kind of fallen off in the rankings. What's his name? Do you remember?
Jaden Johnson, yeah, he
Yeah,
has.
Jaden
I
Johnson.
know,
He was at
I
one
know
point
he's
he
a
was in the top 60, but now I don't know where he's at.
I know he's like a 4-star. I think, pretty sure. I mean, like he looked good. I think he's a junior this year. I think,
No, I
but he
think he's a
looks good.
senior. I think
Oh,
he's
he's a
going to be a
senior.
senior this year. Yeah, because
Oh,
he's in
okay.
the same class as Kenny. I do know that.
Okay. Wow. Time flies, man. I do know that. I went to the San X Trinity game in the regionals last
Mhm.
year, and he kind of looked. He's like it's like he looks the part, but San X has some guys on that team. And notably San X, Josh Lindsay.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about kids from Kentucky, Josh Lindsay, Jordan Jackson. Just I guess
Mhm.
do high school kids that transfer commit. I guess so. He committed.
Yeah.
It's like his third or fourth high school team in 2 years, and he's going to be a sophomore. So which is crazy. But yeah, Jordan.
Who's the big white kid? He's from Kentucky too, as well. It's like class of 2028. Do you know who I'm talking about? Remember,
Oh,
he just randomly popped up on my Twitter, and I was like, I never even heard of this kid. But they said he was the number one rated big man in his class.
big man. Oh, I don't know. I do know Austin Sears is up there, so that
Okay.
he's getting a lot of. Austin Sears is kind of he was like top five in back in the day, like when my stepson started playing AAU. Like Austin Sears was, and then like everybody's like, oh, is he gonna grow? So he kind of trickled down, and then he like shot up to 6'2". So now he's like this. He's like he's got a nice bag, and I think he's there's like maybe 3 or 4 like D1 offers already, like
Mhm.
nice D1 offers. So people are starting to come around to him too. I mean, these are mostly Louisville kids that we're listing, really. I mean,
Yeah. No, it's
there's not.
awesome that we've got that talent. It can't do anything except for help Louisville. Obviously, we're not going to land all of them, but it's still nice to potentially have them, especially considering when's the last time we had a Louisville player? Would that be Quentin Snyder from Louisville? And then I guess just
David Johnson
Kentucky. Oh yeah, David Johnson was after him. That's true. And then
or JJ. Well, JJ's from
JJ's from
Bardstown, but
Bardstown. Yeah,
yeah, but
but still
502.
Kentucky local
Yeah,
kid. Bardstown's close
yeah,
enough.
yeah.
But yeah, it's
Um,
nice to see that the local talent is growing.
I'll
Speaking of
take it.
someone
Yeah.
who is in Louisville playing basketball, hopefully improving every single day, is Kasean Prior.
Hmm.
Kasean just recently posted a video, I believe a couple of days ago, onto his Instagram story. you're the one who tipped me off on it, got to see it. And this was anyone else on the team and I saw this video, I would have not thought a single thing of it. But when it's your former 4-star transfer big man who tore his ACL in November, it was pretty impressive to see. Kasean just brings the ball up to court kind of slowly, then gets to the 3-point line, hits a crossover, hits it between the legs, and then just throws himself a lob off the backboard and slams it home. Definitely wasn't moving at 100% speed, but I think that's the first time we've really seen him do anything since the Oklahoma game.
Yeah, it kind of goes to show, and I mean, I tell Presley this all the time, like, I try to play basketball every day, and I say try, and I say this every time. I say try because the older you get, it started for me when I was like 32. I started to notice, like, I'm moving differently. Now that I'm 41, I still try, and it's like there's a whole 10, 15 minutes there where I'm not going as fast as I can because I can't. Like, I just can't get there. It's after stretching and everything else. And so it just goes to show, like, a guy in that, peak athleticism. I mean, God, I thought he looked pretty good in the 5-6 games or whatever we had him last year. Led the team in rebounding and I think was first or second in scoring at the time. Just to, like, how devastating that knee injury can be for somebody, even in the best of shape with all the best minds around him and the best, some of the best trainers in the country. Arguably, Louisville's training staff is in the top tier of the, training staffs in the country, and how long that actually takes. And so for him to put that, like you said, the 75% speed, on social media, and then comes about a few days or a week after he was featured in the Louisville Twitter video where he was doing farmer carriers. And I tell you guys, like, I'm a nutcase, so I slowed down the video to see what these weights, like how much they weighed, each weight. And I think they were 35. So you do 70, 140. The bar is, I don't know, 45. Maybe it's like a light bar that's 20. So, I mean, like, that's pretty, like, you're doing 20 to 50 yards of that. Like, he's in the weight room, he's doing things like that. But to post a video where you're doing 75% and you're throwing yourself a lob and stuff like that, it kind of really humanizes the college athlete to me, because I mean, this guy was, like, probably our best player, arguably. We didn't get to see much of him, but in my eyes, he was our best player on last year's team. That's just me. And to be slowed and how long it takes to come back, the process is grueling. So my instant reaction from it was, like, there you go, kid. But I mean, what were we doing? Like, how much stuff have you done in your life since, the day after Thanksgiving or whenever it was? I think it was since he tore that, and that's all he's been working on is coming back. And sure, he has a life too, you know what I mean? I mean, of course, but I'm thinking about all the things that we've done and talked about since then, and he's just been working and grinding, and it just kind of, like, I don't think he's going to be. This is my gut, and I'm talking in early August. I don't think he's going to be 100% by the time the season starts. Definitely not by the time the Kansas game rolls around. And I'm fine if they hold him out of, a couple, even if there are a couple tough ones at the beginning that we might need the depth, just because, like, we can't just, we're going to need him come March and need him at 100%. So if I had to guess, I would say, and I'm like not in the know, and I don't have any, like, training qualifications to say any of this. I'm just going to say, like, my guess, just watching him on that video and to think about how tore up your knee can be in an injury like that, I'd say probably, like, hopefully late November. If that includes missing the Kentucky game, it is what it is. But maybe he's just bound and determined to get to the Kentucky game. So I think at earliest the Kentucky game. Like, I think you see that every year where they get somebody ready, teams get somebody ready for a big game, or they hold him out other games to make sure he plays in this game. Part of me just thinks that that's the one that Kasean's going to want to compete at his highest. So hopefully he can get there. So I would say anywhere between November 11th and November, like, in, like, Thanksgiving time, so, like, pretty much a full year, of getting from literally 0% to 100%.
Yeah, and that fits Pat Kelsey's timeline. Whenever I think he spoke earlier this summer, maybe June, he called the ACL injury a 9 to 12 month thing. That's the typical timeline, but obviously ligament damage like that can be worse or better depending on how well it recovers, the surgery, all that. So a few months ago, he said it was expected to be a 9 to 12 month thing. So right now we're sitting at, I believe, just a little over 8 months, because it happened at the end of November in 2024, and we're right at the beginning of August. So the timeline is adding up. It sounds like Kasean is pacing, trending in the right direction. But I'm
Good
with you.
point.
If the season started right now, that video would not give me confidence that he would be ready to play right now. But he's
Yeah.
also would not be expected to be playing right now. I'm with you. I think he will start the season playing, but I'm thinking it will likely be coming off the bench 5 minutes, and then the next game is 6 minutes, the next game is 10 minutes, and then it's 12, and kind of slowly progressing along,
Mm-hmm.
and us seeing he's not 100% yet, but I would expect to see 100% by probably no later than early January, like truly 100%. Like this is the Kasean we saw in the Bahamas whenever we were so excited for him. I still think he'll be a productive player in the months of November and December, but I do think
Mm-hmm.
it'll probably take a little more than a year to get back to 100%. But that's a good thing. This team has so much depth and
They
so much
do.
more talent surrounding him this year that it's okay if he's not 100%. And it's okay if he can only give us 8 minutes, because you've got Ollie Khalifa and you've got Sonny and you've got all these different guys that can help fill out the roster now. So
Mm-hmm.
I was excited. Obviously, I know he's still got a long way to go, but it was just nice to see him back on the basketball
Yeah.
court dunking a basketball. So I thought that was really cool. And it's kind of nice to see an update. And because I mean, if we went until October and hadn't seen a video of him on the basketball court,
Yeah.
would have probably been a little concerned. So it's nice just to see a little bit and know that it's as far as we know, he's trending in the right direction.
Yeah, he's like the like if you ever watch a ghost video and then you see like a little blur of something, or not a ghost video, but like one of those paranormal shows. These are probably don't even I don't even know if they're on anymore. But I used to watch them in like a little smoke thing or a little blur. Of course, now it's probably like we realize that most of it was fake, some of it anyway. A little smoke or blur will come up, a little white blur, and you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
like that's what
Mm-hmm.
I do when I see him in these videos. I'm like, oh, there's Kasean Prior. Like he's doing something. He's lifting something. Oh, he's running. Like throwing himself a lob. I think you kind of put that out there to be like, I'm here, guys. Hey, it's all right. Like everybody,
Mm-hmm.
calm down. And he seems like such a chill persona anyway. But the only doubt that I have, and that he will even play a lot, I guess, people get injured or whatever, is if, like you're saying, we're so deep at those spots, the 4 and the 5, some of those guys are just so interchangeable and it can attack you so many different ways, that it kind of happened to Noah Waterman last year, where he kind of burst on the scene. And I think Pat Kelsey really liked his energy and liked what he was bringing. And at some point, I don't even remember what it was, there was an injury that happened, and he kind of had to sit, and other guys came in and kind of stepped up and out minutes him, if you will. And
Mm-hmm.
after one of those is like one of those, maybe the Clemson game, I don't even remember, down the stretch, Pat Kelsey's going around the locker room, and he even said, like out loud, he's like, Noah Waterman had 12 points and 9 rebounds. He's like, he had a tough run of it. He got injured, got behind some guys. He's like, he didn't cry. You know what I mean? And that could be the tale of Kasean Prior this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're both kind of in agreement that if he's 100% healthy and he's gonna, he's on his A game, he's gonna get some minutes. But we've seen it happen. Like I said, I mean, I don't know if you can hold a guy like Kasean Prior out, and him and Noah Waterman are two different animals, sure. But as deep as we are, like I said, even in those positions, I can see it. I can see one or two different scenarios playing out for him.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that if he is able to get back to 100%, there's absolutely no way that you can keep him off the court for a large run of minutes, at least 20, 25 a game, I think is what he'll
Mm-hmm.
probably sit at once he's fully healthy. I guess final thing that we wanted to talk about, won't touch on it for too long, but we were kind of spitballing ideas, just talking offensive strategies going
Mm-hmm.
into 2026. And it could be a new thing that you didn't see Pat Kelsey and this Cardinals team do last year, or it could just be something that we saw that you think you're going to see more of. So, Al, do you want me to start, or do you have any? Just maybe we can just do one for you, one for me. Just offensive strategies that you think are going to be really put on a highlight for this Louisville team in 2026.
Yeah, like you said, we kind of spitballed right before the show, but I really love your ideas. The only thing I'm going to say is that we all know PK's strategy overall, and he's taken this to Winthrop. He took it to Charleston. He took it here last year. Now this year's a team that he's never had before, talent wise. So obviously you can afford to take more chances and tell guys to I mean, just like make a highlight reel of yourself. In some occasions, we have a 5-star point guard. but his philosophy, and he's been vocal about this, is that he's very simple when it comes to he's going to attack the rim first. So he likes guys that can attack the rim and make the defender choose to do something, or dribble at your man's defender, dribble at your man, so maybe the defender will come help you. And then so you're the guy that you're dribbling at, your teammate, maybe he can get a better opportunity over here, and then kick it around. Let's get a good shot. And last year he could definitely do it. I think we had guys that could shoot. I think guys, Chucky Hepburn and and Rain Smith and all kinds of guys that could just shoot the heck out of it. I think this year is a little more like he's found guys that can do that, that are more versatile. Namely Isaac McKinley. Not that he's the star of the team, but he's kind of a Swiss Army knife on offense where he's big and physical. Like he'll take it to the rack. I think he shoots like 80% from the free throw line. A few of these guys do actually, and Michael shoots 88% for the record. So like Pat, I think he got good free throw shooters. This is why I say this, because I think his first and foremost is he's going to try to it's basically my guy's better, like we're better, my guy is better than your guy, and we're just going to go old school and try to get to the rack one-on-one. If a guy commits, then we have shooters. Like I think that's his like basic, not saying that's Pat Kelsey's entire philosophy of basketball. But I thought I think that's going to be the overall, like, the basis of what we do. And that's just college basketball now. And I think, we have a good roster that we can get in and just get that, that game plan kick-started, pretty much against, anybody this year. What do you think as far as strategies overall?
Yeah, I think you're right. I'll name two. I think last year we saw a lot of off-ball movement, a lot of set plays designed to get shooters open. 90% of the time, that shooter was Rain Smith. Occasionally, it was Chucky. Occasionally, it was Terrence. But for the most part, when we ran one of those really complex set plays that got somebody open for a shot, it was Rain Smith. So I think we're going to see more of that, except for now we've got 5 guys. Maybe they can't all shoot as well as Rain, though I do think McNeely, possibly Michael, Adrian Woolley, and Conwell could all possibly shoot just as well as he did last year. Probably not to the volume of him, but to his efficiency. So I just think that's going to make us such a much more dangerous team that when we're running these set plays, last year you knew it's probably going to rain. Whatever you do, switch off Rain, switch on to Rain, switch on to Rain if you're guarding him. Well, now if you do that, you could think the play was going to McNeely, but it's actually set for Conwell. McNeely was just a distraction. So I'm really excited for some of the off-ball sets we'll be able to see. I think we already saw so many last year, and now that we've got even more depth, more shooting, I think we'll see an even greater set of plays. The biggest thing I think that we'll see difference-wise, and not that I think it'll be a majority of our offense, but just an incorporation of the post players into our offensive sets. It's really not something we saw much at all last year, and I don't think it's because Pat Kelsey didn't want to do it. I just think he was limited in the players that he had. James Scott, unfortunately, a high effort player, but not an offensively skilled player. Didn't really allow us to feed him in the post to get an easy basket or give it to him in the high post and create offense based on his passing skills. Same thing with Frank. Loved Frank, but the talent just was not there on the offensive side. When Pat Kelsey had, I believe his name was Ante Brazovic, the big foreign guy when he was at College of Charleston, in his final season, if you watch them play, they ran so much offense through him, whether that was just the high post and he just sat there and just scanned the defense and just whipped passes over top of dudes because he was 6'10", 6'11", or it was getting him the ball in the post and letting him score or letting him pass to anyone that helped out a little too much. And I think with Sonny and Ollie, eventually Kasean, even Javon when he's got a mismatch, I think the use of post players is going to be a much larger percentage of our offense than what we saw last year.
Yeah, and one of the things when we were talking about this before the show is when you started talking about this, like I was like, that is a great point. That's such a great angle that I'd love to piggyback off what you just said. And I really hope the listeners like took in because like, and I hope your mouse was going because as you were talking, I'm thinking about like a fruit back to the basket with, you've got 3 or 4 shooters out there just waiting for the ball. Maybe you've got one of them running off a curl as he's backing down, waiting for the action to finish. Like just given everything we know about, the guys we have coming in, I think that's just such a great like nugget that you let for us there. Because people might say like, look around and say, I didn't think, we were going to run this kind of offense, but I think you're absolutely right. We can now.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited, and especially in the high post with the greatest passing big man in college basketball in Ali
Yeah.
Khalifa. Like the potential is just limitless there. Final thing before we get out of here, just wanted to clock Rick Pitino being hyperbolic as he always is when a microphone gets put in front of his mouth. He left us
Yeah.
with this beautiful nugget. I believe he said it today, maybe yesterday, but he said there are no more point guards anymore. He just flat out said that. I think that was just a statement for the game of basketball in general, not the NBA, not college, just a general statement. He said point guard's totally done. I think we've got at least one guy on our roster that makes us feel that point guards are not done yet.
Yeah, I really, and he may be just thinking of the old point guard that surveys the field and kind of dribbles slowly, and eats the entire uh, shot clock away. And Rick has been, he never really stopped coaching, so he's watched the evolution of the game happen in front of his eyes. So I just think it's one of those. I'm seeing this a lot, man. Like, this isn't really a dig at Rick Pitino. I deep down like Rick Pitino, and but I'm always gonna, like, the older he gets, and like the further he gets away from Louisville, his time at Louisville, I'm gonna throw little jabs because we saw this the other day with Houston's coach, Kelvin Sampson, and he was talking about the 1v1 trainers, and he said something like, "Why did all you daddies that send?" I don't have the exact quote. Just like he said, all you daddies that send your kids to these 1v1 trainings that you can't simulate pressure with that and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, this is like, and my argument was 1v1 training is the lab, and that's how you develop your bag. That's how you try this new move, or maybe the trainer's like, all right, now, today we're gonna do the tween step back, whatever it is, like anything you can add to your bag, no matter how old you are, like that's part of the love of the game. And I think just all these unks out here, all these unk coaches, like, now, and it's kind of like I'm like senior millennial, I guess, technically, and I think it's just like I'm not going to single out like a certain generation, but like it's either a boomer or a senior Gen X coaches out here that just like hate basketball or the way basketball is now, or something
Hate the
like that.
progression of basketball. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And it's just like, Uncle Rick and Uncle Kelvin, like, just, man, I mean, like, it's, I think maybe you and I'll do this, like, I know you're younger than I am. Maybe we'll do this when we're older, and I'll say, well, like, they'll be practicing with gloves or something like by then, and we'll say, why do you need these gloves? Like back in my day, we just rolled up our sleeves. And so I think it's that. But like, I don't know, Rick, like, I mean, there's so many things we can poke fun at, like the donations to the Kentucky football team or whatnot, but this one was extra silly for me just because I'm like, look around, these, if anything, the point guard position is a lot more polished than it was, and more polished every year, and we see him polished younger and younger every year, to combat both his and Kelvin Sampson's comments about just how basketball is turned into whatever they don't like. So just kind of goofy to me.
I think I understand the point he was getting at, in the fact that you do very rarely ever have that true point guard, like you were saying, that is just a facilitator of the ball and a coach on the court and doesn't look to create his own shot. It is rare that you see that, but I mean, you think like you've got Michael Brown this year, who by all accounts is a pass first guard who can score, but passing is his greatest attribute. And guys like Zakai Ziegler last year, I think he averaged like 12 points a game. All he did was play defense, pass the ball. Ryan Nimhart at Gonzaga, Mark Sears, granted he scored a lot. LJ Cryer at Houston. Like, there are true point guards still out there where their primary function in the offense is to facilitate. But I like we said, you get Rick Pitino in front of a microphone, and he's just gonna lie. He's just gonna fabricate stuff and just exaggerate. So now it was an awesome episode. It is getting late here, so I know it's even later for you on Eastern Time Zone. So we'll go ahead and call it an episode. Thank you all so much for listening. And like I said before, if you want to follow us on Twitter, Alan at cardin_AL and me at UofL_updates. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll be back soon.
This was fun.